We're back, fellas, and we're sounding better than ever. In some Minecraft Anarchy servers, there exists a playerhead plugin. This plugin allows players to obtain another player's head after killing them. These heads, more often than not, will become rare and valuable items, especially those of notable players who keep their head drops limited. A couple weeks back on Purity, the head plugin was finally turned back on after 10 months of it being gone. Everyone's been pretty ecstatic about the change, except Apersu, and I thought that it would be time to fill you all in on why it was disabled in the first place. Now, Purity Vanilla has only 3 rules. 1. No lag machines or deliberate overuse of server resources. 2. No hacks or external programs, with some exceptions. And 3. No use of exploits or duping. Now, of course, as with any Minecraft server, some people decide to break these rules. Lag machines can be made by anyone with a quick schematic, and anyone can go online and download a hacked client. But duping items remains as notoriously difficult, regardless of whether or not the rules allow it. See, in each Minecraft version, duping exploits from the previous versions are typically patched, but more often than not, players will eventually find another. Adding in multiplayer servers, and options start to pile up, as servers and plugins tend to affect the way the items will drop and load. But on Purity, a large-scale duping operation has occurred only once, and its impact on the server as a whole has been no less than devastating. It's time we took a look at an old, dead group known as Gardenia. Gardenia was started by Warlock 666999 on August 3rd, 2020, after the fall of his previous faction Zenith. Bringing ex-Zenith members along with him, they started a faction initially known as Witherbusters. Then a week later, they renamed themselves to Hydra, without realizing that an old PvP group had gone by the same name. So, Warlock changed the name to
Los Jardinos.
And everyone hated that, so they finally settled on Gardenia. After inviting some friends from the short-lived group Vortex, they would nearly have their full roster of members right away. Moving on from their temp base, they would build a base known as the Garden, heralded as a shockingly nice base despite the small amount of time they had to build it, especially since nobody expected the members of Gardenia to actually be good builders, since many of the members of the group just spent their time PvPing and shit-talking at spawn. A member of the group, PANICJACK, knew how to dupe items on paper servers, but his method required the server to crash. No one in the group knew how to reliably make this happen, so although the idea of duping, or gardening as they like to call it, was thrown around, nobody really took it seriously or expected to ever actually do it. Then one day, completely by chance as decreed by the fucked humour of the gods of purity, Gardenia member Viper 69420 stumbled upon Drew's playerhead stash in the Nether. As Drew was one of the most active spawn fags at the time, and had been for over a year, he had several full double chests of playerheads, mostly consisting of random no-name new players that he had killed at spawn. Viper told his group about the find, and Grandma Pepe set out to find the stash and see if there were any valuable heads he could steal for himself. Upon going through the chests and realising that they were mostly just players who logged in once and then quit, he decided the next best thing would be to destroy the stash and get one over on Drew. He put down some obsidian, placed an end crystal on it, blew it up, and the server crashed. They had found the method of crashing that they had been looking for. Wences _, another member of the group, had realised that the glass he had taken out of a furnace was now in both the furnace and his inventory, confirming that the dupe would work. Transporting the player heads back to the garden, Pepe set to work. He would eventually involve more than half the members of his faction in the scheme, including Viper, who found the heads, PANICJACK, who worked out the duping method, as well as Wences _, Jennison, Royal166, and Earth to Brandon. Please be aware that this does not work in the server anymore. However, if you did somehow manage to crash the server via the use of the head plugin, you would be permanently banned. It is not my fault what you idiots do. About 10 minutes before they would crash the server, they would take the shulkers that they intended to dupe out of a normal chest and move them into their player inventory, and also use them to fill up their ender chest afterwards. They would then use an end crystal on the double chests of player heads. The head plugin used by the server would be attempting to load hundreds of unique heads at once, overloading and breaking the head plugin, which would cause intense lag for several minutes, followed by a crash. When the server came back up, there would be a short rollback affecting every player on the server. The kicker is that, although items placed and put in chests are rolled back to 10 minutes before the crash, player data is still saved to the moment before the crash, meaning that the items moved from the chest into the player inventory and then into the ender chest were now duplicated into each place at once. Now that they had this worked out, they attempted to utilise the huge advantage that they had. They duped shulkers upon shulkers of elytras, enchanted golden apples, netherite ingots, and whatever building blocks that they wanted, which for some reason was stone. They decided to dupe stone. Like hundreds of shulkers of stone. I don't get it either. For a short time though, they were unarguably the richest group of players on the server due to this exploit. They were frequently trading shulkers with other community members, who had no idea that they were purchasing duped items. Each time they crashed the server, everyone would experience intense amounts of lag, followed by a crash. The server could typically only be recovered by Penguin himself, leading to a lot of downtime compared to usual. For 2 whole weeks, from the 23rd of September 2020, they would crash the server each night around the same time. However, the eagerness to do this so often would inevitably be their downfall. The server's admin, Boone, had noticed that something was suspicious about the frequency and timing of the crashes, and so he began to investigate. The server logs informed him of the coordinates that were breaking the playerhead plugin and the players involved. Finding the area, but not being sure what he was looking at, he showed the mod team, and they took to closely watching Gardenia to see what they would do next. On the 7th of October 2020, after confirming beyond a reasonable doubt that intentional duping was taking place, they would ban every single player who took part in the dupe. Pepe, Jack, and 5 others were all instantly permabanned, with eulogysinger also getting a 7-day temp ban as the mod team wasn't sure if he was involved or not. If you play on Purity, you know that eulogysinger is now a moderator, so you can assume he didn't have much to do with it. Some small controversy was thrown up as well, as moderators Shexar and Polke based with Gardenia at the time. However, it was again confirmed for certain that they had nothing to do with the duplication, and given that Pepe has given me access to the private chats, I can confirm for a fact that Shexar is not actually evil. The mod team realised that they couldn't let such a destructive duplication glitch happen again. Unfortunately, as the head plugin is an external plugin that the server staff don't have any direct control over, it wasn't possible for the exploit to be patched. The only choice the mod team was left with was to disable the head plugin altogether. This would lead to heads gaining major value on the server, where even heads of random grey players that no one had ever heard of were being sold for 5 to 10 netherite ingots apiece. Furthermore, it meant that anyone who first joined the server after October 2020 would be unable to obtain their own player head. Predictably, the faction itself dissolved shortly after the loss of more than half of its key members. The remaining Gardenians, Gardeners, moved on to DC, a faction led by eulogysinger, where they remain today. Gardenia's legacy today is one of destruction unlike that of any other faction on the server. And, as you all know, heads are thankfully back as of August 25th, 2021, and the plugin has been patched. Although many players don't view the banned Gardenia members favourably due to them causing the removal of the head plugin, they undoubtedly cemented their place in Purity history, even if they did so in a somewhat unconventional way. So that's where we are today. Who knows if another large-scale duping will occur again? It isn't inconceivable to think that another group of players could have discovered another exploit to duplicate, potentially one not even reliant on server crashes. Who knows? They could even be doing it right now.
I watched all your videos. I love your content. I've always been a huge Glaceon fan, straight from the beginning, right when I saw you, and I've never not liked you.